Hey there, got an original fat PS2 right here. Listing for this said that the eject button doesn't work, but claims that the system works otherwise. Now I did plug this in just to make sure it didn't burn down the house or anything, and I think the listing may have been, well, maybe not entirely truthful. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so right now it's plugged in with a composite cable to this TV right here. And we do get a power light when we do that, but we don't get any video on the screen, and the eject button indeed doesn't work. But I know you're thinking, you're saying, hey, maybe instead of composite they were using a component cable. Let's plug a component cable in. So component cable's plugged in, and I know both of these cables work. Let's power it up again. Still nothing on the eject button. Doesn't make any noise or anything. And still no video. The fans do spin. Not sure if you can hear that. And I also did try the trick where you change the video mode without actually being able to see the screen by doing the appropriate key presses. Didn't do anything. Also, let's say someone's been in here before. Right here. This little security seal is broken. And this thing looks like it's been taken off and put back on again. So someone's been in here before. So honestly, I don't have much hope for this thing. But let's see what we can do. So while I take this thing apart, let me tell you about the sponsor, me. That's right, I still haven't found anyone crazy enough to give me money for this stuff. But I think we have some strip screws here. But yeah, back to the sponsor. I write sci-fi fantasy novels, and they're free. So if you want to give them a read, there's a link in the description. Got nothing to lose. And let me know if you like them, I guess. Also, just so you know, I've never actually taken one of these apart before, so this is not a how-to guide. I'm probably going to be doing a bunch of stuff wrong here. Okay, I think that's all the screws I need to remove. Let's see if it comes out. There we go. Not too dirty, all things considered. And I do believe I see a mod chip right there. Gonna remove the power board here right now. If you do end up opening one of these up, remember that the capacitors in here can still be alive. Can still give you a nasty shock or a lot worse. Very carefully, gonna lift this up. That's connected to the AC input. These 4 pins right here plug into this here. And that's the nasty capacitor right there. Gonna put this off to one side, as I'm pretty sure this is working okay. Now we can take this off. This is just the little bay holder for the 3.5-inch drive you can put in there. Gonna plug the fan out. Real tiny connector there, and tiny wires. Very careful with that. And it looks like there's a bunch of screws there to come out. Just gotta get the mod chip off this side here now. This is gonna be tricky. There we go. Okay, and that's the main board. Looks like a fairly okay installation with a mod chip at least. Not saying it's working, but don't see any glaring bad solder joints or anything like that. I'm suspecting this ribbon cable might be bad, at least for the eject function. I'd rather not remove the CD drive, but I don't think I have a choice here. I don't think this bit comes off here, this metal part. Oh, scratch that, it does come off. Let me get this cleaned out. Not seeing any obvious leaky or bad capacitors here. Hoping it's not the CPU or the GPU on this. This video connector looks okay. Soldering for the mod chip seems to be okay. Just going to check how much voltage is left in this capacitor. Okay, looks like it's fully drained. I'm going to try powering this up without the disk drive in place, just to see what happens. Don't ever do what I'm about to do right now. This cable right here is on a switch wall outlet. It's currently turned off. This is not live. Power's on. Here's the red light. Green light. Still nothing. Wall outlet's been switched off. I'm going to change this to the component cable. Wall power switched on again. Turned on. And still nothing. Let's see how many volts is left in here. Looks like the capacitors drain pretty quick. So we're going to check this ribbon cable here for continuity. It's a 7-pin ribbon cable. Pin 4 in the middle is ground. Pin 1 is eject. So we're going to press eject right now. And that works. Let's try power. And that works. Let's wiggle the cable around while we press eject, see what happens. Yep, works perfectly. Okay, so the ribbon cable appears to be good. Next step is to start checking the board for shorts across all the capacitors and MOSFETs. So just going to find a ground. And we'll start checking these capacitors right here. So that one's okay, only grounded out on one side. So going to do that for the rest of this, and I'll see you in a little bit. So I found a site online that has the fuse layouts of all the PS2 motherboards. This one's the GH022 revision. This, I gotta say, is a lot of fuses for, it's more fuses than I've seen in any game console, but that's a good thing. I'll also leave a link to the site that I pulled this from in the description below. So I took a look at all of these fuses here. They all check out except for this one here, PS11, which is the sled. I'm assuming that means the CD-ROM sled, which would explain it not opening. Just to show you, that's what's supposed to happen. You can hear the beep for continuity. This one right here, we get nothing. So looks like the issue is this fuse here, or at least one of the issues. This one is a 2.3 amp fuse. Gonna have to get one of those, and we'll replace it and see what happens. Hey everyone. So it's been about 2 months and the fuses are finally in. Also, just a little aside, got that light bulb from the Florida haul installed. Not sure if this is going to be useful for anything, but enough of that. Let's get these fuses installed. Hopefully I didn't imagine opening this thing up and filming the first half of the video. Looks like screws are missing. Weird. Oh. There we go. Let's get this thing opened up. Now, if I remember correctly, it was this fuse right here that was bad. Yeah, we're getting nothing on there. Right, PS11, 2.3 amps. That's a 12 volt fuse that's needed for that. They sent me the wrong fuse, 3 amps, 6 volts. Let's put this back together and wait for a new shipment, I suppose. So it's 4 months later, and I finally received these things. Hopefully these fuses work. Gonna put some flux around the chip. Gonna try a temperature of 400 degrees at an airflow of 40%. And that's the fuse removed right there. So the replacement fuse needs to go on these 2 contact points here. Let's see if these ones will physically fit. 3 amps, 16 volts, and looks like they should be okay. Let's put some fresh solder on the location. Add some more flux. Next up, lose track where you put the fuse and be glad you bought 50 of them. Now let's position the fuse roughly in place here. And we're going to use the hot air station again to try to reflow it. I think that's worked. Let's double check that it's still working. Yep, looks good. Now, the hardest part. Gotta put this thing back together again and hope that it works. Just noticed that this wire here from the mod chip has come off of the board. Gonna have to Google this mod chip, see where that wire is supposed to go to. Right, so it's been fairly difficult to find anything online about this mod chip other than the fact that it's a really old mod chip. Now, just going from the fact that there's a piece of tape over here and the wire wants to sit like this, and the fact that there's a bunch of flux on this connector here, and looks like it's been soldered to at one point, gonna YOLO this and assume that's where it needs to go. Right, this is now soldered in. That was a royal pain to do. And let's get this thing reassembled again, or at least reassembled enough to test. These wires are going to be a pain to put back in. I'm going to move the ribbon cable from here and have it come out of there. That's the power supply and most of the underside of the board done. Now to put this in, got 4 different ribbon cables here that need to be connected. That's 1, that's 2, 3, and 4. Overall, this is not my favorite system to work in. Let's get the power switch back in. Power switch has to go right in there. So I've assembled enough of it to see if it turns on. Let's see if it catches fire. Oop. Magic smoke, never good. Right, so that was exciting. Looks like a component in this area blew out. I'm pretty sure it's the drive. Let's make sure. Just to be clear, at this point, I'm pretty sure this thing's dead. Just doing this for morbid curiosity. There's the fuse we changed. This might possibly be a blown chip. Yeah, I think it is. Let's see if this fuse kicked in. Fuse is still testing is okay. So that fuse we put in is still testing is okay. This chip here is now kaput. The other chips on the board seem okay. Just gonna do a quick check to see what this chip actually does. Now the only thing is, I'm not sure if this chip was already damaged before I replaced that fuse. And also, why didn't the fuse kick in to save that chip? This chip, by the way, controls the CD-ROM unit. And it looks like I can order these from AliExpress. So another potential 4-month wait, we'll see. And the other thing, the mod chip on this. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if this mod chip might have been the initial issue. I was running under the assumption, because this is a very old mod chip, that this PS2 was working after the mod chip was installed and it died sometime after. But that could be a completely wrong assumption. It does look like a semi-professional install for the mod chip, but you never know. I think what I might try when I get the new chip in is maybe removing this mod chip. If I wanted to mod this again afterwards, I'd probably use a different mod chip or maybe a soft mod. From what I understand, this mod chip, even for a PS2, this is a relic. It involves doing a lot of funky stuff, like holding down different button combinations if you want to launch a copied PS1 or PS2 game, depending. And again, there were at least 2 other people in this before me, so I'm not sure if anything else has been done to this. Regardless, I'll order a couple of these chips. I think they're like $1 each, thankfully, and we'll see what we can do to get this thing going again. So see you in part 2 in 6 months. Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone.